All right. Welcome back to the world famous Tipitinas. Hope you are enjoying this on tipitinas.tv. Thank you so much to Tipitinas for letting us use the space, and thank you to nugs.net for the usage of the equipment. I have a very special guest today, someone who I've been hounding to be on this program for a little while now, and he finally gave in.
Yeah.
I don't know how to exactly do an intro for the most part, because it would be easier to list the amount of people he hasn't played with as opposed to the ones that he has played with. That's not a lie. Ladies and gentlemen, the funkiest man on the planet, Ivan Neville.
All right. Thank you. What a great intro. Thank you, Jay.
I mean, that's an okay intro. Most people just list like, oh, he played with Bonnie Raitt.
You're very kind. You're very kind.
You know, whatever. So
yeah,
it would take too long, especially since I do a little bit of extra research on the guests before they come.
That's all right.
That I keep finding out more stuff. So, I forgot
stuff that you didn't know.
I forgot about this. I forgot about that. No one said this in 15 years, whatever else, you know?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here and giving us time.
My pleasure, man.
You were one of the early victims of the COVID flu.
Yes.
Way back long ago, and luckily you have
I'm one of the original COVID-19.
Yeah. But you're sounding good. I've seen you perform many times since, and it sounds as if, I don't know, you tell me, lung capacity is pretty much back to normal?
You know, I'm going to go on and I'm going to tell you that I'm not like 100%.
No?
No, I don't think. I think there's maybe some residual like damage that just might be there. Not drastic.
Yeah.
But I don't feel exactly how I felt before I got it. So there is, every now and again I'll take a breath and it'll be like, okay. I had the COVID. It's, you know, and it's not like very labored. Like
you
when
had
I was
pneumonia though too.
I had double pneumonia.
Yeah.
Pneumonia in both lungs, and it was the doctor told me it was a COVID pneumonia, like a pnumonia that was a part of that thing.
Yeah, I mean that was the first time I remember when you said that. That's the first time I'd even heard of that. That was almost new. Like no one had really heard about that yet.
I know a lot of people that had pneumonia during their bout with COVID.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's more common than I think people are talking about.
No, it's absolutely, it absolutely is. Most people that have, I guess you could call it a severe case of it, which mine was severe, but it wasn't. It could have been obviously worse because I'm sitting here talking to you.
Exactly.
But you generally are going to need. Mostly, you're going to need some oxygen, and most people have to go. You end up having to go maybe to the hospital, and they put you on oxygen. I know. I have a friend. I have a friend who lives in New York who. He and I had the same timeline, and I think we got it the same place.
Time. Yeah, because you came from New York right before you were sick.
And this guy's name's Howie Singer. Howie works for the NBA. Big music fan. You've probably seen this guy before.
Maybe.
He's been at Tipitinas to see shows doing Jazz Fest many times. He's a friend of a lot of Ian knows him. A lot of us. He's a friend of a lot of ours. Anyway, I would talk to him pretty much while he was going through it, because you wanted to talk to someone who knew what you were going through. Yeah. So that was unfortunate that we both had it, but it was fortunate that we had each other to talk to from time to time to see what we were going through. But he was hospitalized. He was hospitalized for like 8 days.
Yeah.
And they mostly put him on oxygen. Somebody gave me.
Yeah, I mean it's airborne. It's in your
I
lungs,
had an oxygen machine delivered to my house.
Okay.
I went to a hospital and they gave me an oxygen tank, which I brought to. They walked me downstairs. I put the oxygen tank in my car and I went home, and I utilized the oxygen. And then they delivered a machine, what's called Even Flow, a big blue machine you plug into your wall, and you put the little tubey things in your nose, and it supplements. It helps you because my oxygen levels they're supposed to be between 94 and 100. And my oxygen level was mostly hovering somewhere in the 80s. Upper 80s, and it had gotten as low as possibly like below 80.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's scary.
So that's what people have to deal with. Some people anyway, you know.
Well, you mentioned how you're one of the lucky ones, and I was gonna say when you said sometimes you're not feeling 100%. I wouldn't know it from the way that you've been sounding the times I've seen you perform on the Tipitinas TV for Dumpstaphunk set, and I've seen you do things Facebook Live on YouTube, all kinds of stuff.
Well,
and no one would know.
Well, you know, when I was doing live streams from my house, I was sick.
Yeah.
It was while I was still
you were
sick.
just doing 1 or 2 songs.
No, I did like
for
a
the
set.
full set? Okay.
I was doing like an hour almost maybe, but I was worn out.
Okay.
I would sing, but the singing did help.
Yeah, just get your lungs working.
Yes, it was a way to practice because I was told by several doctors, and I read about it, and about your lungs, and how that it attacks your lungs. The COVID does, and you could your lungs. You could reteach your lungs what they're supposed to know. Yeah. They know that you're supposed to be breathing better than you are breathing. So I would take deep breaths, and I would do some breathing exercises, and singing helped me to reestablish my lung capacity.
All right.
Because I was gradually able to obviously wean myself off of the oxygen, and then I was taking while I was good. It was good.
No, and you sound great again. So
I'm hanging in there.
News.
I'm still wearing them. I'm still scared. I don't want to be. I don't want to be famous for getting it twice. I don't want to be that guy. So
no, absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of safe because I know I had an antibodies test in October, and I still had antibodies.
That's good.
And that's a long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have to talk just about
Let's
viruses.
Go. That's it.
Let's talk about other stuff too. Early stuff. A lot of people don't know this. Your first instrument was actually guitar briefly when you were a kid.
Oh, you heard that. You read that.
No, I told you. I did homework again. You played guitar for a little while, put it down because you just didn't want to necessarily be practicing all the time.
It was boring to me. I didn't have the patience to put the work into the guitar. I played it for a little while, learned a couple of bass lines, a couple of lines, sing a simple song. My Sly and the Family Stone thing. I learned that. I learned maybe Chicken Strut by the Meters. And maybe a couple of Jackson 5 songs.
All right.
And then it said, I think I loaned it to somebody. I actually loaned the guitar to somebody. I ain't gonna say their name. One of my uncles I loaned the guitar to, and then I never saw that guitar ever again.
Oh, man.
And not that I was really that mad about it. Yeah, it started sitting around, and it was purchased at Woolworths. It was like one of those little cheapy guitars from the 5 and dime.
Possession or anything.
Nah.
Well, I do know that, obviously your father, I'm told, is quite a musician as well. For those who don't know, it's Aaron Neville.
Yeah.
But you always had a piano in the house, right?
For the most part, yeah. When we lived at 1014 Valence Street, there wasn't a piano always there. There was a piano that was in my grandmother's house that my mom played when she was a kid, and then I believe it was that same piano ended up when we moved next door to 1012 Valence. That piano was in that house.
Okay.
So by the time I was trying to play piano, which was when I was about 15 years old, it was there. The piano was there at home.
And I do know that your parents both went to school with James Booker. He was a dear family friend that would come to the house a lot.
Yeah, Booker.
And just play.
Booker was a frequent visit to the Neville house back in the days. My mom went to high school. She was classmates with him in high school. Okay. My dad went to grade school with him. I think it's Saint Monica.
Is that like after he had come back from Mississippi or something?
I don't know. I don't know about it. All I know is my dad went to grade school with him, and my mom went to high school with him. And they knew him. They knew him very well. And every so often he'd show up at the house, and he'd obviously they'd talk him in. And got to sit down and play the piano a little bit, and he'd sit down and play some of the most amazing stuff that I'd ever heard in my entire life, to this day, still.
Yeah.
I mean, he did some. He had some stylings, man. Yeah.
It's a phenomenal character. I was going to wonder if there was any kind of wild and wonderful tales that are both terrible and hilarious.
Well, no, he had. I got some Booker stuff. But what was funny was he would show up and he would. Every now and again, he would show up and he'd have a cab. A cab would pull up and drop him off, and the cab would sit there and wait for him.
All right.
And I learned that, oh, that's Booker's ride for the day. He'd hired a cab. Okay. He'd obviously been to Europe or something and made some money.
Started making real money.
Because he made money when he went overseas. They really appreciated him. He was very underappreciated here in his hometown, which is a shame. But he went over there and he'd obviously been working and made a little money, and he'd come and he'd show up and he'd have a cab. That'd be his ride for the day. So he'd pay that guy, I don't know how much he would pay him, but that'd be his ride. And there was a few occasions he'd slick me. There was a few occasions where he gave me $100 bill.
Oh, wow.
At least 3 times.
All right. Well, so he was obviously, loved you when you were a little
kid,
too.
Yeah, he had some dough. He had money in his pocket. Yeah,
take care of the
$100 bill, And so he was a character. He was, oh my, like Dr. John would say, a character. He was a character. Yeah, James Booker. Dude, I got one funny, there was a, okay, the cutout of him
in his underwear and the police hat? Yeah.
Yes. So you know where that comes from?
I do, actually. It's funny you should say that. I heard
you know the story?
His cousin, brother-in-law, something was a cop, and he took the uniform and just started wearing it around town and acting like he was a cop. Yep. And there's a Nick Daniels story involved with that too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, what happened was we were practicing somewhere, playing at Jimmy's. We were practicing at Jimmy's, and we were back there in the back, and we'd been kind of hanging out, and we were smoking some joints, and Nick was up by the bar. And the front door of the Jimmy's, you walk in the door and the bar's right there.
On the left, yeah.
And Nick was standing by the bar, and I knew that Booker had been parading around the city with a police uniform on. And my mom told me, she said, his sister's husband was a policeman, and he decided one day he was going to start wearing this man's uniform out in public. And so it was funny. You know what was funny about the uniform? He had like the hat, the whole Billy. At some point, he had a Billy club, the belt, and he had these aviator like cop glasses. So he had the patch on his eye. Well, where the bad eye was, he had glitter on the glass. I swear over the bad eye glass. I swear to God, he had. That was funny. But so you didn't look at him, and he's got a police uniform on and all this. But if you got to notice the glitter on the glasses. Yeah. You don't notice that. He
just looks like a cop. Yeah.
But so we saw Nick standing at the bar, and we saw him talking to Nick. I saw Nick pull his wallet out, like Nick was showing him his ID or something. So we were over there. We were paying no mind. We were like, damn, what? I'm figuring. Okay. I know Nick. Nick knows who Booker is, but I don't know that Nick really knows Booker.
He had never really.
No. Okay. Yeah. So Nick come walking over there by us. We smoke. He said, man, y'all better put that weed up, man. There's cops over there harassing me. I'm like, it's not a cop. It's James Booker. We were laughing, man. We were cracking up. Nick thought it was. He asked Nick for his ID.
Check his ID. Hey, kid,
man, let me see your ID. And then you know what he told Nick? Nick said, he said he looked at his ID. He said, you a good bass player. Gave him his ID back. James Booker.
Man, that's great.
No, but what ended up happening after that, so he kept parading around the streets of New Orleans with his police uniform on, and like I said, he had a billy club at one point. Then he started carrying, he had a pistol, a starter's gun.
A fake gun.
A fake gun. I swear it was shooting blanks and whatnot. And at some point, he pulled a gun out and shot him some bullets off, and he was arrested for impersonating an officer.
A police officer.
Yeah, and so everybody knew about this.
Yeah.
And then he did a piece, they did a piece on him in the Wavelength magazine. Wavelength was like the offbeat.
Okay,
that was the monthly magazine. It was called Wavelength. Mm-hmm. And he was on the cover of Wavelength. And the cover was him in his underwear with a police hat and a billy club. That's where that thing comes from.
And they have it at the Maple Leaf. It's up on the wall.
No,
at the Maple Leaf, right?
No, they have that thing at the they have it at the Leaf.
The cardboard cutout.
So that's where that cutout comes from.
I feel
that's
like
what
Hank
that represents.
Told me that story, but that is wonderful. That is wonderful.
With Hank, you mean Tipitina's Hank?
What's that?
Tipitina's Hank?
No, Maple Leaf Hank.
Oh, Maple Leaf Hank. Okay.
Hank
See, you reminded me of Hank. Tipitina's Hank. See, there was.
You're talking about Hank Drevich.
Hank. Yeah, Hank. Mm-hmm. Hank brought me to City Hall to get a permit to play. My first time playing at Tipitina's.
I was going to bring that up, that you have, aside from many other poignant moments in Tipitina's history, but you are the first person who ever needed a special license to play here.
I needed a permit. I went to City Hall.
First year the club was open, if I'm not mistaken.
In
right?
1977. I hadn't quite turned 18 yet.
Yeah. Yeah, they hadn't passed that Roddy Romero law or whatever they call it.
Right. Yes, I had to go get a permit.
That's phenomenal. Well, while we're on Tipitina's early days stories, and we're going to talk about Neville Brothers stuff too, there is a story that I feel like you were going to tell, because we did the Save Tips thing, and you were so generous. You and George told some old stories, and I think there's going to be some B-roll of that they haven't released yet. So if it hasn't been released by this time comes out, keep an eye out for it. But you had a pretty funny story that you said you wish you could have added on there.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. This was kind of funny. So there's this guy named Mr. G, also known as Mr. Google Eyes, also known as George August. His name was George August.
Okay.
He was known as the youngest blues singer in the world or something like that.
All right.
That was his, like, it went under, like, I think he put a record out as George August, and that was like his
debut or something?
No, that's where, you know how they put the beautiful the great balladeer or something.
His title, his surname.
The youngest blues singer in the world, Mr. George August. And that was, I guess, early in his career. And he was known from the Dewdrop days and from that era. And he was around Tipitina's, and he would MC some shows here and there. And he was known as Mr. Google Eyes, Mr. G.
All right.
They called him Mr. G. And he was funny.
Yeah.
He was funny, man.
Could he sing?
Yeah, he could sing, but he could sing, but he was more of a character, and he was more of an MC of a showman, like kind of announcing stuff, like, ladies and gentlemen, the meter. That's how he said the meter. The meter. So the meter. Mr. G. So there was one night he was doing a pretty regular little MC thing at a. There would be a night. It would be called the New Orleans Rhythm and Blues Review or something like that. And the band was led by Deacon John.
Yeah, nice.
And Deacon John, Deke had a band. They'd be playing, and they'd usually have maybe a couple of special guests, maybe who it might be Jesse Hill one night or who knows, you know. But they were playing here. They were playing here in Tipitina's, and. I was standing on the side of the stage. I was standing over there. Me and my friend, me and Reg, we were boys. We were like, you know, we were running partners, and we were hanging out on the side of the stage, watching this go. And I think my boy Hutch, who plays bass with Bonnie Raitt to this day, was playing, but he played with the Brothers for a while as well. And I think he was playing bass. And with Deke and the Rhythm and Blues, New Orleans Rhythm and Blues Review or something like that it was called. Mr. G had a microphone and he was the MC. So he would be, you know, whoever was coming up, the special guest, he would announce them. So Boz Skaggs was in the club and he wanted to play. And so he got up, he grabbed the guitar from someone, and he got up and was up on stage playing guitar. And he wasn't announced, he was just standing up there playing. Yeah. And there were people who knew that, that's Boz Skaggs up there playing guitar. And so a lot of people knew that, you know, they knew who, you know. And so it was, you know, cool. But then at some point, Mr. G was giving it up. Give it up for the guitar player. And because he didn't know who Boz was. Yeah. And then we're watching Deke. He's whispering in Mr. G's ear. That's Boz Skaggs. He's telling him, right? Bob Skaggs! Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Skaggs! So he kept saying that about every few minutes. He's Bob Skaggs!
Bob Skaggs.
Bob Skang.
Oh, Skang.
Skang. S-K-A-N-G. Bob Skaggs! Bob Skaggs! We were dying. We were cracking up. Oh, man. Hutch was playing bass and Hutch was laughing so hard. We were laughing so hard. Because he kept saying it. And, you know, I think somebody even asked Bob. I don't even know that Boz even noticed it. Because he was just so grooving. And he was so
loud. He couldn't
honored,
hear.
But he was so honored to be up there playing with like some New Orleans legendary cats and playing some real soulful stuff. And we were just cracking up.
Man, that's
Bob Skaggs!
There's another old story, and I don't know if this is true or not, and because I read it so long ago, and I don't even recall what the situation was. But a long time ago, you were playing here, and someone came in, and shots rang out.
That happened twice. That happened twice.
2 times.
So there was one time when Ernie Cato was in here, and I believe he was in here, and whoever his lady was, his old lady came in there, was mad at him. I think he was messing with some other broad, some other lady or something.
All right.
And she came in here with a gun.
Oh man.
And shots went off, and people went to ducking. She was shooting at Ernie Cato.
Oh man.
right over there, right? Huh?
Was he on stage?
He wasn't on stage. No, he was on the side somewhere. And she came in there, and when she was went to shooting the gun. Gunshots went to him, and people were ducking. And no, there was another time when the Neville Brothers were playing, and the original Uptown All-Stars, who was myself, Nick Daniels, Renard Poche. No, Sarah wasn't in the original Uptown All-Stars. No, he took the name of that band and started another group later on.
I thought he was a singer for
the Uptown All-Stars were myself, Nick Daniels, Gerald Tillman, Renard Poche, and Willie Green.
All right.
Now, originally it was James Ledet. James Ledet was the first drummer for the Uptown All-Stars.
Okay.
But then Willie Green became the drummer. And we were, at the time, we were also the backing band for the Brothers.
All right.
For a period of time. We were backing the Brothers up. And so we would play maybe a couple, 2-3 songs before the Brothers would come out. We'd play a couple of tunes, and then Brothers would come out. So we were on our second or third song playing, and I saw something sparked. I saw something like did a spark off of the Leslie, the organ, the Leslie amp.
Yeah.
And Gerald was standing there. He was playing organ, and something like hit the Leslie, and I saw Gerald do like that, and something like he was grazed with a bullet.
What?
And luckily, we all had these like red shirts. We used to wear these stupid looking, these black parachute pants with red shirts.
I'm sure it wasn't stupid at the time.
But that's what we had on. But he happened to have on a leather jacket over his red shirt. Thank God, because the bullet grazed, and you saw where it took a piece off that leather jacket.
Wow.
But what had happened was, somebody was upstairs in the dressing room.
This is back when it was, but this is after it was 2-story joint, right?
It wasn't a 2-story joint. No, it still was 1 story.
Okay.
There was still other stuff going on.
Yeah, they still had all the apartments
there
upstairs.
was other stuff going on, but they did have the dressing room.
Yeah, okay.
And somebody, I'm gonna mention a name because it was Pops, my uncle RT. It was some friends.
Can beep that out if you want.
You don't have to beep it out.
Yeah.
No, it's
all
cool.
Right.
Some friends of friends, a friend of RT's was messing with some other lady that he maybe wasn't his old lady.
Okay.
And his real old lady came and was upstairs confronting him. And she pulled out a gun.
So both shootings here have been
So
by
she
women.
pulled out a gun, and instead of her shooting him or shooting somebody that was affiliated with the situation, she shot through the floor. So the bullet came from upstairs, and it hit the Leslie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
That's
yeah.
crazy.
So we found out what happened. I mean, obviously we were on stage. We were like, what the hell happened? We didn't know it was a bullet.
You thought it was like an
I didn't know what it was. I'm like, what the hell was that? Somebody threw a rock or something, and it went off the spinning Leslie and ricocheted, and it was a bullet. And the bullet came from upstairs. The woman pointed the gun to the ground. And aren't you supposed to point a gun up? If you're going to scare somebody with a gun, you point it up in the air.
I guess. I don't know.
No, she shot through the floor enough to hit somebody.
That's crazy.
And God, I mean, I don't know if that lady's still alive, the one who shot the gun, but yeah, that was some scary stuff. There was a couple of characters that used to be in here like during the day. There used to be a jukebox.
Because
right
the
up there.
wall. In the men's room now, right?
The jukebox, man, it was over there. The bar was over there. the front. The door was actually on Napoleon Street.
Yeah, it's where
It wasn't
the
like
window is.
yeah,
now,
it was yeah. And you know, it was a hell of a place, man. And we glad it's still here. I tell you, I hope we can keep it around.
We're doing what we can.
Oh my
man.
God, yeah, right.
So far, I mean, you know, obviously things are bad all over for a lot of people. Just to date this interview a little bit, but you know, I feel lucky in that. I feel like we're in a better position than a lot of people, so it's tough all over for people.
Yeah, no,
sure.
it's rough. I have no idea when I'm gonna actually play a gig.
Well, exactly, and we don't know exactly. Tanner, if you're in the 2-shot and pull back, I don't know if you can see it. You can probably, it's dark, but you see the tables. We're already trying to plan on what's going to happen if we have to have a seated show where people.
Oh, you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, this table will be right here in the middle, and you know we'll have some stools and whatever else. But we're capped at.
Yeah, it's going.
We can only have so many people in here. It's going to look something like this with people sitting at these tables and cocktail servers. So.
Wow.
I mean, maybe not. We don't even know right now. That's just us trying to play with it and come up with a floor plan. Whatever. So, aside from all that, you mentioned the Neville Brothers. You became, I don't know if you were a regular part of the touring act at first, but you definitely have been playing with them since, you know, you were a child, essentially.
No, I was touring with them.
Let me cut you off because you said you didn't start playing piano until 15.
Right.
And then by 16, 17, you're performing professionally.
No, not really. No, I wasn't playing with them. I was probably 19, 18, 19. Something like that. 18, probably later part of 18, because when I started my group called Renegade, and then we played here. That's when I had to get a permit. And then I remember we played here one time. Houseman was singing with us.
Yeah, I was going to ask you who was in Renegade.
Houseman used to sing with Renegade too. Okay. Well, Renegade was my original group. Renegade was myself, James Ledet. God rest his soul. He just recently passed away. John Dawson, he's gone too, and Greg Simon, Dr. Freaky. All three of them are gone. I'll see them one day. Not yet, not for a while. But it was my first group, man. We used to play in the back, in the shed in the back of my mom's house on Valley Street. But we played at Tips, and at some point, Houseman became our lead singer. It was funny because he used to live on Valence Street. He used to live, was it 709 Valence? Or 709?
It was only like 3 blocks away, up 2 blocks maybe.
709 Valence, I think it was 709. And we gave him that name, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because I remember when we did his memorial here, you told a very,
no,
very beautiful,
because the funny thing was I remember seeing some interview with him talking about some dice game, and I'm like, why are you telling people that? He said, well, it sounded cool. He said, it did. The story for me telling the story of how he got the name Houseman sounds funny, me telling it, but he's a lead singer with Galactic out on the road. He had to have a better reason for to be calling the Houseman.
Some legend story.
So I understandably so, but I had to remind him. I'm like, we used to go by his house. We used to go by his house every day. And I'm talking about from high school. I would come home from school, and we would go down to Daryl's house. And we would meet up down there, and we would sit. They had one of them sofas with the plastic over it.
Yeah.
And so they like brand new sofa with the plastic still on it, and the plastic was going to be on it, so it could remain new as long as possible.
Yeah.
You know, y'all know them kind of sofas, right?
Yeah.
So we'd be sitting in their living room, and he'd be playing records, and he had lots of records. And we'd be just listening to records and reading the album covers and the credits and learning a lot about who were playing on records and this group and that group and all that. And we started calling. We was at his house like every day, and we started calling him Houseman, the Houseman. And what was funny was we were there. We'd be sitting there like legs like sticking. The man's wife would come home, and she'd come home from a hard day's work. And then have to come walk and step over our feet. Right, we sitting in there you know, smoking weed and cigarettes. This woman didn't come home from a hard day's work and got to step over these little hooligans, these little hoodlums sitting in my living room. And she'd step over us and be looking at us like, look at this guy, look at this, a damn shame. And then she'd walk in the back and then she'd say, Thorough, and call him in the back and we'd hear her fussing at him. And be like, oh, Lenny, come in the van, I'm worried about all that, you know, and whatnot. So it was cool. Except one time we came to the house. And she had left. She'd taken all the furniture. Oh. She had taken everything except the record player. The record player, like there was like a little chair. There was like a little picnic chair, and the record player and his albums. Everything else was gone. The sofa was gone. All the lamps. She had left his ass. She's like, yeah, you made a choice. You want them or me? He chose us. He chose. So he was really the house man.
What a mistake.
That's funny, man. You know what? He ended up he got back together with that lady though, and they had a beautiful daughter. I think Divinity. I think so. Yeah. But that's the house man. But funny thing was when we played here one time with House Man, and the crowd was kind of like a little lackluster, and it wasn't really giving us the kind of love we thought we deserved. You know, we were like, and Houseman said something. He said it from on the microphone. He said it. I'll never forget. He says, "We're not the Neville Brothers, but we blood." He told the audience that. We were like cracking up. But it was just classic. We're not the Neville Brothers, but we blood.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
And the people like, okay, we get it. Because we were playing our own little brand of funk, you know, a little...
Yeah, I mean, was it originals? Probably
we were playing
covers
some
too.
originals and some covers, you know. Yeah, it was cool. But I became a member of the Brothers group shortly after that. And... there was a chain of events that happened. My drummer, James Ledette, ended up becoming the drummer for the Neville Brothers. And we could not really replace James in our band, so I ended up our band did this band, we fizzled, and then I joined with my dad now. Yeah. I was with them. I would do Wild Chopper Tula stuff with them at first, where I would put on an Indian suit at the end of the show and come out and they would do Wild Chopper Tula's music, and I would come out with the Indian suit.
This is while your great uncle Jolly was still alive, right?
Jolly was still alive, and I would come out and do that part of the show. I toured with him doing that, and then eventually I started playing more. I started writing songs and stuff, and we did some of my tunes. Yeah. We recorded one of my songs called "Dance Your Blues Away." It was a 45 that we put out. Yeah. It was a regional. It played on the radio a little bit, and.
No, it's out there. It's definitely part of the catalog that people love.
Got a little play.
Yeah, you definitely a writer on a lot of Neville Brothers songs throughout the decades.
Not that many actually. I wrote that one and maybe one or two more over the years on a couple of their records. Yeah.
Well, you're no stranger to at least collaborating with a lot of people that were already established bands. I mean, obviously. You earned your place to join your father and uncle's band. Like, if you weren't talented enough, they wouldn't have probably let you in the band or nothing.
Yeah, right. That's
so
true.
You had to keep up. And I mean, look at who you got to play with. I mean, you played with Rufus for a little while, and that was, I imagine, was that your first major touring band besides the Neville Brothers?
I didn't tour with them. I didn't tour with them. I just went and did recorded.
I thought you did like a season or something.
No,
like
we
that
recorded.
After that album came out.
We recorded and that, but that was my first real exposure to like L.A., Los Angeles, Hollywood, that music scene.
Yeah, okay.
Is
that when you moved out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went out there and did that whole thing and got acquainted with a lot of cool people. Yeah.
Well, I know people always want to ask you about Rolling Stones stuff, and you had at least met the Rolling Stones years before you ever got to record with them.
Well, I met them with the Brothers. The Brothers opened up for the Stones.
Yeah.
In 1981. We did like 3 or so shows. We did 3 shows in Chicago, show in Louisville, Kentucky, I believe, and somewhere. And then a show in New Orleans at the Superdome.
Okay. That was their last New Orleans show until, the one last year?
So that's funny. You know what? I am the only person who's ever opened up for the Stones in the Dome twice.
That's a good point, yeah. Yeah.
I did it twice. Yeah.
Well, I saw the second one.
I know. I opened up for them in 1981 with the Brothers, and then came back again in 2017 or 18?
Was that last summer? I don't know. It's so hard to tell time anymore.
2019? That was 2019.
It had to be 2019.
That was last year.
It was the 50th
That was after
Jazz
the
Fest.
Yes, it was 2019, last year. Whoa. Yep.
Yeah.
So did that. Yeah, well, I met them with the brothers in 81. And I ended up going to, we went up to New York one time. Me and my uncles and my dad. We went to New York and hung out with Keith and Ron Woods.
All right.
And we went into a studio and was fooling around, playing a little bit. And there was talk that the Neville Brothers were going to sign to Rolling Stone record label. It never happened. But out of all of that, I ended up getting a call at some point years later. So there was some other stuff that happened before that.
All right.
What ended up happening was I was playing with Bonnie Raitt, and I had been touring. I had been playing with Bonnie for a few years at this point. So this was around 1985 or something like that. 85.
Had you started recording your own solo stuff by then?
I hadn't started doing that yet.
All
Around
right.
86, 85, 86, maybe 85. There's a record called Dirty Work.
I was gonna say,
and I don't know what year that came.
On Dirty
I played
Work,
bass
right?
on a song.
Yeah.
And I sang on backups on a couple of things. So that's when that was the next time I hung with them.
Okay.
With Keith and them, and that was a cool hang. I went to the studio with them like 3, 4, 5 nights.
Nice.
I was there for like a week. I went to the studio every night almost. Were
you playing a lot of bass at the time?
Nah, I could pick up a bass. No, how that happened was, one night I had gone to the studio and was just there hanging, and they were recording and whatnot. And then one night I went to the studio and Ron Woods was there doing some stuff, and myself and Ronnie and Steve Lillywhite, who was producing, and Patty Scott, what's her name, who sings with Bruce Springsteen's wife? Patty, who was at the time singing with Bruce Springsteen, part of the E Street Band, became his wife. But Patty, she was there that night, and we sang on some stuff on the Stone session, and then I remember Ronnie said, "Hey, come." He invited me to his son's birthday party the next night. His son Tyrone.
All right.
My son Tyrone's birthday. Come by the house. So I ended up. Funny thing was, so when we left the studio that morning at 10 and 11 in the morning, whenever time it was,
all right.
It was daylight. It was daylight. Yeah. I went to Ronnie's house that morning.
Okay.
And I think we maybe had something to eat, and other stuff went on. And then he said, "Go, you can sleep in Womack's room," because Bobby Womack was a good friend of theirs as well. They were really good friends, and they loved Bobby Womack. And Bobby, I think when Bobby was hanging out in New York with them, he would go sleep at Ronnie's house.
Right,
so Ronnie called his guest room Womack's room.
All right.
So he told me, "You go sleep in Womack's room." I was honored. That was how cool that was. So then the next night, I ended up going to Ronnie's house, and Keith was there.
All right.
So Keith, Ronnie, and myself, we went in Ronnie's basement, and he had a studio downstairs, and we were playing. Wow. And they were playing guitars, and I picked up a bass. At some point, I was maybe playing guitar, whatever. I picked up a bass. We were just playing some shit, whatever. Just making up. They were making up, playing some grooves. And at some point, I remember Ronnie was saying, "Yeah, you know, maybe we could get Ivan to play bass on that tune." And Keith was saying, "Yeah, that's you know." They had this song that they were working on and because the way I was playing, maybe I would sound good playing on that song. Yeah. So I thought nothing of it. So we ended up going to the studio that night. And we were all singing on some song called "Get in a Fight." The song was called "Fight." And all of us were singing on it. It was myself, with Keith, Ronnie, Mick, Charlie Drayton, Steve Jordan. I don't know who else was there, maybe Don Covey. We were all, you know who Don Covey is?
The name, yeah.
We were all standing in a circle singing this song. It's called I Want to Get in a Fight. Oh, now. Oh, something like that.
Yeah.
That was how it went. And so that we sang on that song, and then we were just hanging around, and the hang was a hang unlike any hang you could ever imagine. I mean, you know, it was a hang. It was fun. I ain't gonna say a whole lot about it. It was fun. mid 80s, Oh my God. And so at some point they put this song up, and then I think Keith turns to me and said, "Hey, then you try to put a bass to this song on this song." I said, "Yeah, sure." So I went and played bass on this tune. I'm out in the control room. In the main room, playing the bass. I'm looking at them in the control room, and this song's going on. I'm playing. I'm hitting it, and they're in there dancing around.
So
I was stumping it. I was stumping it. Yeah. Song called Hope. Do do. Boom. Do 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 do. Boom. That was it. That's the song. Hold back. Yeah, no, so I was like ecstatic,
Oh, man.
Imagine that you play it. And so that morning, we left the studio. Morning, I say 10, 11 in the morning. Walking out of the studio in broad daylight. Out of my mind.
Yeah.
For many reasons.
Yeah.
But also, I just played bass on the Stones.
Yeah, so I'm going to be on a Rolling Stones album
You
playing bass.
I'm like...
Yeah, you don't even know if it was going to even be on the album.
But just the fact I done played with them... I was lit in other ways as well, Oh my God, yeah. I couldn't go to sleep. I was like up. I'm sure I went and woke somebody up and said, "Hey, I just played on the Rolling Stones."
Probably I would wake everyone I know up if that had happened to me.
Yeah, so that was the beginning of something I didn't know. Couple years later, or so, I got a call from Keith. That he's putting some stuff together, and he wanted me to come and play it with him to see what would happen, see what how it would work out. And so I went and played with Keith and Waddy, Steve Jordan, and Charlie Drayton, and that became the band, the Expensive Winos.
Okay.
They're just putting out. The new,
there's a re-release, huh?
A re-release of a box set of the Live at the Hollywood Palladium.
No kidding.
Keith Richards and the Expensive Winos, yeah.
Featuring yours truly, man.
I'm on it. I'm on that, yeah.
That's phenomenal.
And so on that show, I'm playing guitar on a song or two. I play bass on one song.
A lot of people don't realize because you spend so much time behind the keys. I've seen you shred on guitar, man.
I can play a little bit. I can't shred. I can play some funk.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. You can play some funk, but I think it must have been like 8 or 9 jazz fests ago, something crazy. And I don't even remember if it was in the set, but it was definitely during the sound check. You got up there and the band played like Smells Like Teen Spirit or something like that, and I see you rocking like Kurt Cobain on the stage, like jumping around.
Yeah, we played
playing guitar,
something like that.
You can play guitar, you can shred.
I play a little bit.
I've even seen you play drums before.
I can play drums a little bit too.
I know that, and you've never had any kind of like formal music training, have you? This is all just things you've.
I should have studied more. I did have opportunities to study in class, like music classes, but I wouldn't have. I would absolutely tell anyone who has a chance to study. Don't off like I did.
Well, I mean, you were able to at least. I know there was a lot of difficult years, decades, etc. But I mean, you've seen the other side of it and made it to the other side of it, and you have not lost a step at all. Like as far as how you can perform and how you sound, because I know you give 150% whenever you're in front of a crowd.
Oh yeah,
like there's no doubt about that. Everyone knows that's seeing you. And while we're talking about Stone stuff, there is one infamous story that I have to ask about. Getting invited to sit in with them for a concert and partying too hard and sleeping through the gig.
fellas, I crashed out. I went up to New York. I played on the Voodoo Lounge record. I was on that record on some songs.
It was in the 90s, I think. What, 93?
No, Voodoo Lounge was in, it was 94, 93, 94, somewhere around up in there. 93, 94, I believe. I played on that record, and then when they did that tour, for some reason, I was under the impression that I might get to play with them at that point, but it wasn't to be. And I was, I had a reputation. My reputation, I was pretty crazy. I did a lot of drugs and a lot, and it was one of them things, man. I got an opportunity. Keith invited me to come up to New York, come up and hang out. Stones playing Giant Stadium. The Voodoo Lounge tour was had started up. It hadn't been going on that long. It had just started a few shows in maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost. I remember because I was a kid, and I wouldn't remember nearly as vividly as you might. But it was a big like, hey, Stones are back. Like a lot of people thought they had gone away because they hadn't really toured much for a little while. But they came back. There was this big. Album was pretty good. It wasn't.
Voodoo Lounge was good.
It was a good album. People were like, it doesn't sound like it's like, man, you can't recreate.
No, you can't sound like some of that old stuff, but it was good.
It was good.
I like that record.
I remember it was a massive tour, playing massive amphitheaters and things like that.
And stadiums. And so I went up to Giant Stadium, hung out. I got there, and I got a little too lit. I did too much blow, and I ended up having to drink a whole lot to compensate, to try to calm the blow situation down. And I drank a little too much. And we had talked about, they'd figured out that, okay, Ivan, you're going to come play a song with us. So I was going to go play on, I think maybe Start Me Up or something like that.
All right.
So I was given instructions. I looked at we went into a side room and was fooling around, playing a little bit. All right, I'm ready to do it. And I looked at the set list. This is when you're going to come up and play. So around these songs here, you kind of go get in position and get up to where the stage is and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then a little while before they went on stage, I started feeling really f***ed up. And I remember Ronnie introduced me to Lenny Kravitz. I had never met Lenny Kravitz. He had opened up that show.
Okay.
And me, Lenny Kravitz, myself, Keith, and Ronnie, we took a photo that night. I'm gonna find that picture and show it to you.
Oh man.
And we took a photo, and it was. That was one of the last things I remembered about that night, was taking that picture.
Wow.
Ended up. I was kind of foggy around that time, and then I crashed out. I fell asleep in the dressing room, and then I woke up and the show was over.
Man,
I missed the whole show.
Well, I'm not trying to make you tell that story to embarrass you or anything like that.
No, I don't care. No, it's cool. I mean, I ain't worried about it.
Well, I'm bringing it up only because you've been sober for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a massive accomplishment. So hats off to you. And I do absolutely want to see that picture, so I don't want to move forward.
I'm trying to find it. Hang on. Let me find this photo.
And you have to send it to me so we can put it on this video too.
Hang on, let me find it. Where is it?
Well, that's a great picture, man. That's a great picture. Please send it to me.
Look at my eye.
Yeah, I know. I saw you immediately. Huh? Please send it to me. We'll put it up on the screen somewhere between us.
Look how calm and cool Keith looks.
Yeah, I was going to say, everyone is enjoying themselves and relaxing, and it looks like you might be asleep or in another dimension.
I'm having a bad time.
Yeah.
Dude, I was so miserable.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, you've been open about it for a long time, because I know a lot of people in this industry obviously have a tough time, and especially around here. And not to try and toss any family dirt, because I know it's in the brothers' autobiography.
Well, yeah,
they told a lot of stories.
It's a family thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some usage in the family. We did it. We did all that stuff together, as well. So,
Well, it's a cautionary tale, especially if anyone hasn't read that autobiography, by the way, they absolutely should. I learned so much about, just all the brothers coming up, at the very least, things that I probably never would have learned otherwise. They were extremely open and forthcoming with stories, and just inviting people into, just have a glimpse of the family. But, musicians struggling with addiction, that's all too common sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard. Right? Basically, I guess all I would say to anyone is I had a lot of fun with all that shit. And if it's fun, if you have fun with it, more power to you. But if it becomes where it's not fun, where the consequences and your rap sheet starts turning dark, your reputation starts getting a little bad, and the consequences outweigh the fun, you gotta it may not be a good idea, maybe a good idea to try to look at another way to be, and not, it's kind of, I mean, that's my story, and it became to where it was destroying my soul pretty much. I was just too much into that. You know, I mean, became more important than anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
and so that's like,
it's definitely
you know,
not fun anymore.
Yeah, when you falling asleep, you got a chance to play with the Stones and you fall asleep. That's one thing. But then the other kind of that I did, that I don't have to tell you any, you know, particular stories, but I put my life in danger on many occasions, chasing behind, you know, that one more hit or whatever, you know. There's no such thing as a happy ending with that. That's the problem. Yeah. You either you can handle it and then you can stop doing it whenever you want, or you can do a little bit and take it or leave it. There are people that can do that. I know many who can, and right on with that. But if you're not one of those people and you don't know when to stop, you can't stop. And then the party's over and everybody's going home and you're trying to find the next party, something may happen and you know, you might have to do some similar things like I did.
Yeah, man, I mean, God forbid, a cautionary tale. I mean, addiction is something. I mean, for crying out loud, you join the spin doctors. Who would do that if they were sane? This is a joke, man.
Hey, well, you know what? I got to tell you. But I want to tell you something about that. See, at the time when I started playing with the spin doctors,
they were on top of the world.
No, they were still at the tail end of their big fame.
Okay.
They were kind of waning. They were kind of the fame. They were falling off a little bit.
Okay.
They had
massive single with
they were huge, and they were a jam band that some of their loyal jammy fans kind of didn't stay loyal to them when they became
pop stars.
When they became pop stars. Yeah. So they were one of those, not to get into all of that. Though I don't know that I could have, at the time, I didn't, they were the only guys that would hire me at the time.
Really? Cool.
I mean, I didn't have a gig.
Wow. Well,
when I joined with them, this was after all of that. This was after the Stones, falling asleep. I joined them around that time. Around that same time. I was living in New York, and a kind of friend of some kind of way, I linked up with those guys. And I started playing with them around 95, 96, around that time. Somewhere around there. And they hit their peak like right before that. Okay,
I thought you were still you joined up.
Yeah, they were kind of right at the end of the peak of the spins. I mean, and they had already had the big record, the Two Princes and the Little Miss Can't Be Wrong and all that stuff, and they had a second and third record that didn't do as well as that. I mean, they were still great guys and a great group. But I owe a debt of gratitude to those guys.
I was making a joke before.
No, I know you were. No, it was cool though. It's all right. But I didn't know that I could get a gig. The kind of gig that I thought that I was. I mean, when you get to that point where you're all f***ed up, part of you, you wonder what you're even worthy of, or what do you deserve anything cool? But at the same time, I knew that with my my musical ability and that I had done, somebody big time would offer me a job or something, but not really.
Wow. So
those guys offered me a job to play with them, and now I kind of tried to keep it together as best I could with them, but I was smoking crack back when I was playing with the Spins, and I got clean while I was playing with the Spins. I got sober in '98. I was still playing with the Spins.
Okay.
My first gigs that I played, I went on tour. I went on European tour with the Spin Doctors when I was sober.
Okay.
And I prepared, and I had like lists. I did research and found like meetings all over the world.
Yeah.
In Germany and I was in a meeting in Munich, Germany during Oktoberfest. Yeah.
Say, and you're probably the only one sitting listening to people tell their stories.
I was sitting in a meeting. I was sitting in a meeting in Munich, Germany, and they were speaking in German.
Yeah.
And I could not understand the thing they were saying, but I could feel the vibe.
Yeah.
And I was shaking my head like, oh, like I knew what they were talking about. But then I looked on the wall and I saw something that kind of struck me, and I thought it was a prayer that I was familiar with. And it was a prayer called the Serenity Prayer. And I asked this guy sitting next to me who spoke a little bit of English. I said, is that the Serenity Prayer up on the wall? He says, yeah, Serenity Prayer. I was like, oh, cool. And that was it. And I left that little meeting. I walked back to where our hotel was, and I walked past all these people with those funny looking clothes on, with mugs of beer in their hand, with the little hat, the fucking little short pants and Yeah, so that was my early sobriety.
That sober me up.
But I was playing shows, man. I was like, I was out there gigging and doing what I had to do. So I owe a debt of gratitude to those guys, and I love those guys for helping me out.
I'll never make a joke.
No, I know it's cool. What's funny was when I remember when they knew what I had gone through, and they knew that when I would have to go back to New York to do work with them, they would put me up. One of the guys who was a manager, who was a manager of the band and a friend of the band. He lived in Jersey City, New Jersey. Okay. I think he was from Jersey City, New Jersey, and my man Jason Richardson. Yeah, and Jason, he put me up at a hotel in Jersey City, which was right across the street right across the river from the city, from New York, from Manhattan.
Yeah.
So I would catch the PATH train, and I would get off. I would be in this hotel. It's a DoubleTree hotel. Because I didn't want to be in the city.
All right.
I was scared to be in the city.
I was going to say, ways and whatever. Right?
No, I was scared to be over there. I had history everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere that I had already been, I had some sort of history where this reminds me of something. Some street corner, something that reminds me of something in my past.
Yeah.
In those dark days. So I would stay in Jersey City. I would catch the PATH train into the city, do whatever work I had to do, and catch the train back to Jersey City and hang out in that DoubleTree hotel over there. And that was my early days in New York, trying to be clean and sober and all that.
Wow.
It was something, man. Coming back to New Orleans was a big deal.
Yeah.
I was like, how am I going to do that?
I mean, did you stay with your folks when you came back?
When I came back to New Orleans, I ended up, let me see, because I had moved around, and I was living in Los Angeles at that time.
Okay.
Right. In around 97, 96, 97, 98, I was in LA. Right. Now I was back and forth in the late 90s and early 2000. I was coming back home, and I ended up joining back with the brothers.
Yeah.
Because Art had a back surgery around 2001 or something like that.
Was Walking in the Shadow?
We did that record around that time, and I started spending more time at home, and I was living with my parents. Yeah.
All right. And can you believe I'm talking this? We haven't even talked about Dumpstaphunk yet. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Let's get Dumpster.
I'm sorry. I've just been jabbering away. We're going to talk a little bit about Dumpstaphunk. Before I say anything, recently something else you re-released was The Justice.
Yeah.
Re-released that video with Charlie Tuna lyrics.
Tuna.
He had recorded those before when you first released that song,
recorded. He changed it a little bit on this one, but he had recorded something, and we had never gotten to mix it and release it. So we did that song in 2017. Something like that.
Yeah, it's been 2-3 years.
Something like that, and we put it out. It was done 2016. I think we put it out
right after
the election. We put it out on I think inauguration day of the current president's beginning of his presidency, and all the things that went along with that, and then the song being relevant to a lot of things that were happening around the country.
Yeah.
Police brutality and cats, brothers getting killed and for no reason and all that kind of stuff, and just inequality, the whole thing. And what's funny, what's not funny is that here we are, 4 years later, and then we're putting this record. We're putting this record together, and then we're like, that song still means so much right now. And so the Charlie Tuna rap, he adjusted it to be more current as well. Yeah. And then we changed some of the footage in the video.
Yeah, I was
and
say,
we made that more current.
Slightly,
And so let's put that sucker back out, you know. And that's what we did. And it's funny, just like they got them songs. I mean, not that Justice is anything like some of the music that I'm thinking of now, but there was some great music that was put out in the late '60s, early '70s that were like social commentary, like some Marvin Gaye tunes, Stevie Wonder tunes, Sly and the Family Stone songs.
I was gonna say
that Curtis Mayfield songs that were talking about the struggle and talking about, you know, inequalities and things of that nature, and speaking up, stand up for yourself, and all this kind of stuff. And all of that stuff means so much now to this day.
Well, bands that seemingly weren't taking any kind of a political stance, all of a sudden where you have like the Temptations and the Four Tops and whatever else, like they were putting out palatable tunes, and then they're like, we need to make a statement.
Ball of Confusion.
Exactly. I was going to say Ball of Confusion is the perfect example of that. And not that you guys you've been playing songs with social commentary since the beginning of Dumpstaphunk.
Meanwhile was a subtle jab, you know, at everything, you know.
Well, I just want to say, I remember the first time I heard y'all play Justice, live at least, for sure. Powerful song, no doubt. Like, hit me hard, just like everything else that y'all put out. But then when I rewatched the video again a couple weeks ago, like, chills.
Yeah,
like,
that video's badass.
Chills about
that video's something, dude. Yeah, no, it got me, man.
With your permission, Nick, throw like 5 seconds of that clip in here from that video, please.
This one, that one, and all the one. We all are beautiful. Let's face it. If you ask me my name, I'll tell you the same. Justice. We're looking for truth to save all of you. Justice.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right,
Go ahead.
that's thumbs up.
Yeah, Justice, baby.
He'll edit that afterwards.
That's cool.
So the origins of Dumpstaphunk, I think it's pretty interesting. I remember seeing y'all before Katrina. It seemed as if the first time you played it, it was kind of a one-off. You were not trying to start a new band. You were almost just trying to fill a Jazz Fest slot.
I was just trying to play and wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
Everyone was already in another band, already playing.
Right, and I didn't want to just do some Ivan Neville show and back me up, guys. And I wanted it to be more like a band kind of thing. So I was like, who should I call on bass? It's either going to be Nick or Thibodeau Tony. And then I'm like, I'll call both of them. And that's kind of that's exactly what came to mind. Like, both of them can sing. Both of them can play bass. Tony can play guitar too. Yeah, that's it. And that was pretty much, that was an easy fit. And then Raymond became the drummer originally, and Ian.
Was it a big step? Because Ian was, I saw Ian play half a dozen times with Funky Meters before I saw him with y'all.
I mean, the kind of stuff that we were going to play, I knew that Ian would be able to, you know, handle that stuff, because it wasn't, I wanted somebody that could just play some funk and play some rhythm, and that's what Ian is really amazing at.
Yeah, he's great at it, and even as a young kid, I was just wondering, when you have 4 seasoned guys like yourselves, and like, hey, my 21-year-old cousin, 22-year-old cousin, however old he was it a gamble, you think, for the other guys originally? Because I know, again, it was not a full-time thing. Yeah, having a kid.
Nah, you know, it was like, you know, I mean, obviously we would say, you got to come on, earn it. You got to come earn it, little dude, you know, little cuz.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of getting the free ride from Big Cuz, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Let's see if he can. But he held his own. He held his own for years. So, I mean, if we ever tried to do a gig without him, which we had to do on a few occasions, and we were like, okay, I hear what he's doing now that he ain't here. I know what I miss when he's, you know, when he's not playing. So, you know, it's obvious that everybody adds their thing, and it makes it what it is. So it's a unique group, man. You know, I can't wait to start playing again.
I know.
Jesus
I
Lord.
assure you.
I mean, oh my God.
I'm one of the lucky ones, because you filmed, you know, a Tips TV set, and I was one of 8 people in the building.
Play again, man. I want to do over with that.
I thought it was phenomenal. But
I want to do over.
We're also
man.
starved. Every single thing is the greatest thing ever all the time now. And we'll get you back in here. We'll call everyone up. We'll be here tomorrow. How's that? We'll do something.
I don't know about that.
And like you said, Raymond Weber, and you guys have gone through a few drummer changes.
Yeah, we had Nicky Glaspie played for a while, and then Alvin Ford Jr. from the 13th Ward, and then little Devin. Devin's a bad little dude, man. Devin is a bad cat.
He's got big shoes to fill because every single one of these drummers is a phenomenal, awesome crusher.
You know what? He is something. He's holding his own.
And, the past couple of years, you guys added full-time horns, too.
Yeah, we got
What
Alex.
was the decision to go ahead and dive in?
Yeah, because we were using regional guys. We would use, sometimes Naughty Professor guys, and sometimes we would have Mark Mullins, and then put together something for us, and then we would be out on the road. We had some guys up from Pittsburgh that we liked, Steel Town horns and Groove Line horns from Austin, Texas, and we had a section of some guys in the Bay Area that we would use, and the horns became a thing where we're like, okay, we need to have that element all the time, and we wanted it to be more consistent. Yeah. So, we ended up with Vasily, and I don't know who else is going. I mean, I know the last time we played, we had Vasily and John from Naughty P. I don't know who's going to be busting it with Vasily on the full time.
All right.
Situation, but
well, I mean, since Katrina, at least I remember it basically became a full-time thing for everyone after Katrina, because y'all probably only played
you're right.
15
after
times.
Katrina, you're right. That's when it became a full-time band. Because it was pretty much a side group. I mean, we played a couple of fun shows. We played like that Bonnaroo show. That was our first really big show. Other than playing the Jazz and Heritage Fest, we played that Bonnaroo. We played a late night show at Bonnaroo. Yeah. And it was crushing. It was just Dumpstaphunk and Skerritt played with us, and it was just like and we just slayed. And we used to do this version of the theme from The Sopranos.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that woke up this morning. We used to bust that.
Y'all would play that almost every gig.
We would bust that, and people would go crazy. They were like, "Oh, they can't believe they're playing that tune."
You ever gonna bring that back?
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe you should, because it's a good throwback. Everyone digs that song, especially the way y'all play it. And that's another thing, because of the talent you have in your band, the way everything that y'all play comes out is pretty much always better than how I heard it from a different band the first time.
Oh, wow.
And here's a perfect example, and this is not to slam a very, very famous guy, but we were recording that show, the benefit for the Tulane University thing here a few years ago. Right. And the special guest was Michael McDonald. Right. And one of the songs that y'all had been rehearsing all week long was Taking It to the Streets. Right. And because he wasn't here until the day of, I think, y'all had rehearsed it for like 3 days. Right. And you went ahead and sang it. Oh. And you have Tony, you have George, you have Raymond, you have Mark Mullins and Levy Horns. You have all these serial crushers on stage, and you're singing it, and it's like, oh, holy this is the best version of that song I've ever heard. Michael McDonald comes out, and he's good. He was great. He did a phenomenal job. Yeah. But it's like, man, I think Dumpstaphunk needs to start playing that song all the time.
I don't know about that.
I mean, it's the personal opinion.
Thank you. So thank you kindly
I'm a super fan, so I'm trying not to geek out too much for
I love my man Mike. My man Mike
was great.
Bad.
He was really nice.
You know what's funny? I got a tune that I'm going to put out at some point that I recorded over the last few years. I developed it I got Mike, my dad, and Bonnie Raitt singing on it.
We haven't even talked about Bonnie Raitt.
I can just say
either.
that here, but that's it. I can't.
No one watches this.
It's okay, but I got them singing on this one song. Yeah. Because I figured I want to.
You can't tell me what the song is.
I want to get these recognizable voices to sing on this one song that I was developing. And I know I won't be able to say featuring. Yeah. But so I want their voices to be so recognizable.
So obvious.
So I don't have to say anything. And people are going to hear it and say, damn, that's Mike McDonald, that's Bonnie Raitt, that's Aaron Neville. So those are 3 recognizable voices. And iconic voices.
Absolutely. So I don't think you'll find.
A song,
between the 4 of y'all, I don't think there's four more recognizable voices out there. Man, there's 1,000 things I want to talk to you about, especially since I got you trapped here. We locked the door, so you can't leave.
Okay.
Something else that happened, and this is kind of a personal story for me as well. After Katrina, there was a super group that came together called the New Orleans Social Club. That was you, Henry Butler, George Porter Jr., Leo Nocentelli, and Raymond Weber?
Raymond, yeah.
Is there anyone I left out of that?
Nah, it was us. We were the band, and we had collaborations on that record. We had John Boutte, Willie T. I think Irma did something with us. We had, who else? Cyril.
Yeah.
Subdudes. That's all I can remember off the top of my head.
Well, I remember seeing y'all play a few times, and this is one of my most harrowing stories I've ever had about the early days of me being a manager here. This is like 2010. Y'all hadn't been doing it quite as often, obviously. Like it was, everyone had gone not back to normal, but that was about the time Treme had started filming. So like there was a reinvigoration to the music industry around New Orleans for sure. Like the scene was starting to pop real hard again for the first time after Katrina. For real. Clubs, it had been a couple of years. Most of the clubs had started coming back. A couple new clubs started coming back. And we had the New Orleans Social Club play Friday of Mardi Gras. And not every show of Mardi Gras necessarily is a slammer for us. That Friday night sometimes gets really hard. I don't know exactly why.
That's a hard sell.
We had a tough Friday, and the crowd did not represent the talent on stage. You know, it was one of those nights where this 800-person club only had about 300 people in it.
Wow.
It was like, man, why the hell aren't all these people here? It's after the gig, and I got to pay you guys. And everyone came into the office to settle. It wasn't like one person came in, took the money, and paid everyone. Yeah. So I have all these legends sitting up here in the office, and I'm sitting like hiding behind the desk, basically, like it wasn't like a secret. You guys saw the small crowd, and there was like, just give us the money so we can get out of here. I know it's not much. I
remember some stuff.
So so it was like $2,500, like something where you guys were only going to get a few $100 a piece. And it was like, this is really sad that I'm only paying you guys for one of the best shows I've ever seen here, $200 a piece. And when y'all came in, you came all at the same time. And Henry Butler, for those who do not know, was, he's, past, God rest his soul. He was blind. And when he came in with everyone else, there was a lady that was standing right next to him. And I just assumed this is his friend. She's helping him out. She's going to give him a ride at the end of the night, whatever else. And I show you guys the settlement sheet, and I have this money. I'm going to break it out into, 5-6 piles, whatever. And this lady goes, "That's not enough." I go, "Excuse me?" She goes, "You need to pay them more. These guys are worth a lot more than that." I go, "I'm really sorry. This is 90% of the door, and this is what we sold. Right. This is how much the contract says I pay them. I can't lose more money doing this. I'm very sorry." She goes, "Well, I think you need to change your game." And Henry was being real nice. He goes, "Hey, this is the business, baby. Calm down." And everyone is kind of getting annoyed with this lady, and I think George goes, "Does she need to be in here?" And I looked at Henry. Everyone looked at Henry. And I go, "I thought she was with y'all." And everyone shrugged their shoulders, including Henry Butler. I had to get up and push her out of the group. This is some strange lady. No one knows who she is. I had to get up. It's like, "Thank you so much for coming. Have a good night."
That's funny.
Push her out the door and lock it behind her. I don't know if you even remember that. Obviously not.
That's funny.
That was one of my most miserable nights of
Well, I do. You know what I do remember? I remember something funny about that. Now I remember something funny. I remember Henry had a hotel bill, and we were laughing like, "Where the did he stay?" It was high. I'm like, where did you stay, man?" He stayed at the Whitney. The Whitney was overcharges like a mug.
Well,
I remember
everything
that.
does during Jazz
No,
Fest,
but I remember he charged us. He charged us this money.
It's like half your payout
from the Whitney Hotel.
Oh, man.
There was some expenditures that came from some of that money that was kind of.
Well, he wasn't living here at the time either.
Leo
he had to fly in, right?
We didn't make shit. I remember there was some issues. There was other issues like that I remember. I remember looking at George. I'm like, where did Henry stay? God damn.
Suite at the Ritz. Right? Yeah. For a night.
Oh man.
I don't know. We'll cut this out if you can't talk about it. But y'all were in California recently in a studio. Can you talk about that at all? Is that something?
No, all I could just tell you is that we were lucky to have a job at that time. Actually, during the pandemic, and in August this past year, we were fortunate enough to be involved in making some music for a film.
Okay.
So we weren't, and we didn't write music. Now, the music was written. Music was written for the film.
All right.
But the people that were making this movie were fans of the band.
All right.
And they wanted Dumpster to play this music. Like, they had written the music, but they wanted to hear Dumpster playing.
Was it some composer that was crazy? We can't believe we landed this guy and he wrote this stuff for y'all, or was it just kind of
it was a
coincidental?
combination of the composer and the guy that's the producer director of the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I can tell you. I
Okay,
can't
that's
say
fine.
anything else.
That's fine. I
I
knew
can't tell you
probably-
no names, nothing.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. We'll keep it at that.
Yeah.
Not your first foray into the music or the film industry as far as soundtracks and things like that.
Oh no, I've had some songs in films. I've had a couple, 2-3 times maybe.
A couple of things that stand out. Sorry, I keep cutting you off, man.
What?
'cause
Like
I'm
what?
so excited.
Like
you
what?
had the song during for a little while, my favorite movie when I was, I don't know, 12 years
Which
old.
one?
Pump Up the Volume.
Oh, you like that?
In
With
the
Christian
sex scene,
Slater.
with Christian Slater
Pump up,
sex
why
scene,
can't I fall
the
in
almost
love?
sex scene.
Why can't I fall in
Why
love?
can't
That
I
was
fall
bad.
in love? That is
oh
Ivan
yeah,
Neville
Pump Up the Volume. Yeah, that was
watching-
bad. You know what? I thought that movie was gonna do so well.
That was a good movie. That
It
was
didn't.
a really strong
It didn't
movie.
do as great as they thought it was going to do. I mean, they thought it was and now, you know what's funny is if it would have come out a different time, I think it would have done way better.
It's entirely possible. And it's funny because I know that at least as of a couple of years ago, Christian Slater cites that as one of his favorite projects that he's ever worked on.
Dude,
And
it
think
was
of all the movies
amazing.
he's been in.
The story of it. This
Yes.
kid who, with the sensory thing and he's trying to
pirate radio station out of his
dude,
garage.
that was badass, man. Hard Harry, man.
Yeah, Harry Hardon. Harry
yeah,
Hardon.
dude,
Talk hard.
yeah, talk hard, talk
For
hard.
sure.
That-
And something else that the great Pete Jones over there did not believe me. You are part of the Marvel universe as well. Are you even aware of this?
Which one?
The Captain America movie that came out in
Home of the
1990.
Brave?
Yes.
Home of the Brave?
Home of the
You
Brave.
remember that?
He didn't believe me.
Oh my
He didn't
God!
believe me.
You remember that?
Yes.
Oh my God!
So
Which
you-
wait, it's Captain America?
Yeah, the
Oh, that's
crappy
right.
one.
I
that
know.
came out in
I know. It was a
1990.
horrible movie. I did this. I did this song. I remember that. You know what? I did a few things around that time because I did
John
some.
Ritter movie, right?
Oh yes, Skin Deep. I did
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, the song on the Skin Deep soundtrack.
Falling Out of Love. That was from my record.
Yeah.
That was yeah. They used that theme of that song. They didn't pay me enough for that.
No?
They used a theme for that music for my song in the score,
Okay.
and I should have gotten
Yeah,
paid.
you should have got royalties
no,
for
I
that,
didn't,
too.
I did not.
You didn't? Did you have a manager back then at all?
I
Like,
did.
you
I
were-
did. I don't know. I got screwed over. I don't know.
All
Some
right.
kind of way I got messed over. But that movie, it didn't do that great
wasn't a
anyway.
popular
no,
movie
it wasn't hit.
necessarily.
It wasn't a big hit. But I did a few things like around that time. I did commercials. I did like a Miller commercial. I did a Miller beer commercial. You would have loved.
Yeah?
If you loved that Captain America, you would have loved. I did
I
a
love it for the
commercial.
sticky nature
I did a
of it,
Miller
yeah.
beer commercial that was so bad. I remember. My dad was in the union, worked his fingers to the bones. And it was by that man a Miller beer. I swear.
Don't sing the rest of it because they need to pay us.
That
if
was
you're
it.
gonna Sing that, yeah.
Miller beer. I did that.
Come on,
I
we're trying to get money here.
I had a Levi's commercial that was killing.
Yeah.
A Levi's 501 jeans
All right.
commercial. Back when they had there were a bunch of 501 jean
Yeah,
commercials that
was,
were real
yeah,
hip.
They had a whole line of jeans.
I had one that was
Okay.
crushing. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed doing that one too. I did a few things of that nature.
No, for sure. And again, I'm not trying to poke fun.
That's cool, but I need to do some of that now because right now the music
take
business
anything we can
the
get,
music
man.
business
Yeah.
is so different and not what it used to be. We need to have music and films to really make money nowadays because they don't sell records like they used to.
No, but
everything's so
the more you
streamed
put
and
in
all
movies,
that.
the more mailbox money you got. The
You need
potential to
music
make.
You need music
Yeah.
and films nowadays.
Yeah. You've been in this business since you were a young man, and it's almost seemingly like when you kind of look back at it over these years, you've had almost the lifespan of 3 or 4 different careers in this whole time, as far as almost different eras of your life, or almost its own music career for any normal person, it would seem like.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, do you ever think that when you look back
I
at
never
that?
looked at it like that, but that's
Yeah.
kind of true.
Yeah.
Kind of all meshes into one cool little ride, I guess.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. And I mean, the roller coaster, I
Yeah.
know wasn't always easy, but I hope it was worth it when you look back at it
No,
so far.
absolutely, dude. No, it's cool. It's like to get to play with all, all of the people and those relationships that's I'm still cool with all them people, you know.
That's what
Like
I said.
I'm still like I text with Bonnie.
Yeah,
frequently.
we didn't even talk about Bonnie Raitt
I
stuff.
text with
hardly. I
Bonnie
mean,
frequently, and I call Keith. Keith don't have a cell phone. I
why
call him
would-
on his
Keith
landline.
better not
I
have
call
a
him
cell
on his
phone.
landline. I
All
call
right,
him on his
good.
landline.
Good. He better not get a cell
and no,
phone.
if he happens to be walking by that phone and he'll see my name on it, he'll pick it up.
All right, that's
And
cool.
that kind of stuff. But no, Bonnie, I recently played with Bonnie last year. I did some shows with her,
Okay, yeah. There
which was amazing. What a treat. I get to sit and play and listen to her sing. You know?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I guess we're all looking forward to what might be sometime in the next not
I
too
know, I hope,
distant
man. I hope
future.
we do all
hopefully.
kinds of stuff. Huh?
There is one more thing.
All right.
You might be aware, over at Guy's Po' Boys in the neighborhood, Stanton Moore, our benevolent owner, Stanton Moore, has a po' boy, a signature po' boy at Guy's Po' Boys. Did
Oh,
you know that?
Stanton has a po' boy guy. What is
it's called
it?
The Bomb. It's really good. I suggest you
That's
try it
all
if you
right. That's
haven't.
all right. No.
I want to know if you have a favorite place to give him a free plug, but more specifically, if we're going to create Ivan Neville's signature po' boy, and we'll call it the Ivan. We'll call it the Scrape.
Well,
All right.
the scrape has got to be a hot sausage sandwich,
All
but
right.
it's got.
All right, so
It's just
what's on your
specific. It's
signature
pretty
po' boy?
simple. I like a hot sausage sandwich, and I would get that once every blue moon.
Okay.
That's what I would order. But
But no, we're making one that is yours. It's going
it's
to be
got to
on the
be.
menu forever.
It's got to be grilled. It's got to be not on a flat top.
All right.
It's got to be flame grilled.
Okay.
Like it's
hot
gotta be-
sausage grilled.
It's
though.
got to be grilled.
Okay.
And it's got to be semi well done.
All right.
Hot sausage. You kind of got to cook it.
Yeah, you got to cook it all.
It's
through.
kind
You
of
don't
got to
want it
be semi well
bloody.
done with a
No.
little crisp on it.
Yeah.
And basically, couple, 2 patties thick
All right.
on the French bread, light mayo, lettuce, and pickles.
Okay.
That is
No tomato?
No, Swiss cheese. No
And
tomato.
Swiss?
Yeah, Swiss and no tomato.
That's interesting. I would not have guessed Swiss, but that's
no,
a good
yeah.
idea.
One slice of Swiss.
Nice.
One slice of Swiss over, and that Swiss. When that Swiss melts on a hot sausage
Yeah.
sandwich,
I don't think I
it
ever had
almost
Swiss on
stretches
hot
like pizza cheese.
That's a good idea. Man. That's
Swiss
a really good
on
idea.
the hot sausage sandwich is really good.
That's a good
You got
idea.
to try that. No, with just lettuce and pickles, no tomatoes.
Yeah, it's-
Tomatoes a hot sausage sandwich.
Yeah, I was
up.
gonna say, it doesn't work with hot
Lettuce
sausage.
and pickles,
That's really
light
good.
mayo, and the French bread got to be toasted. A little bit toasted.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh my God! And then you know what's funny? You know who's got a good? What's it? Faux?
Mofo? Yeah.
Mofo has a hot sausage banh mi sandwich.
Yeah?
Yeah.
try that out.
It's good.
I'll try that out.
It's like the banh mi,
I know what banh mi is.
but it's
yeah.
a hot sausage one.
That's a good one.
That yes, I had one not that long ago.
I haven't been
That
in a
it's
long
good.
time.
Well, my little Isaiah was having soccer games out there by City Park.
All right.
So we left there one
it's right
evening.
on- it's on City
we
Park
left there one
Avenue,
evening
yeah.
and stopped there and
Nice.
got a banh mi hot sausage
All
sandwich.
right. Well, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. No one leaves empty-handed. We have
Thank
a
you.
surprise for you.
Thank you.
It is a certificate suitable for framing for coming on the program. You can go ahead and read that out loud for us.
Hereby said I have never
Out loud.
officially also for being interviewed on this day, November 21st, 2020, for absolutely no monetary compensation whatsoever. Congratulations and you're welcome.
And you
That's a
are
beautiful thing.
welcome.
Oh, my,
Thank you. And there's a folder so you don't lose it.
Isaiah's gonna love this.
Yeah, absolutely. We got
This is
Cheetos
great.
for him too.
This
He's
is
the
great.
best day ever. Ivan Neville, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
man.
thank you, Tank. Thanks
give
for
me-
having me.
give me
Tipitinas, thank you.
20 seconds to wrap this up. Thank you so much to the great Pete Jones up front doing lights and sound. Thank you to Tanner upstairs running the cameras. Nick Logan doing the editing.
Thank
on
you.
everything. Thank you to Tipitinas for letting us use the space. Thank you to Nugs.net for the usage of the equipment. And thank you to everyone for tuning in on Tipitinas.tv.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Who
Ivan
that?
Neville.
Tomorrow Sunday.
Thank you, man. Seriously.
Thanks, Tank. Yeah.
That wasn't so
always.
bad, right?
That was cool.
And it was kind of long. Hour 20,
That's all right.
25.
I'm gonna go my ass to sleep.